The shadow that lost its way. Ben had never thought much about his shadow. It was always just there, following him wherever he went. But one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, something strange happened. His shadow didn't follow. Instead, it darted in the opposite direction. Ben gasped. "Hey, where are you going?" His shadow didn't answer, of course, but it wobbled uncertainly, as if lost. Then, before Ben could react, it slipped through a crack between two old buildings. Ben hesitated for only a moment before chasing after it. He squeezed through the narrow alley and emerged into a part of town he had never seen before. The air felt different, thicker, quieter, almost like the world was holding its breath. The buildings were faded and covered in ivy, their windows dark. Street lamps flickered weakly, and an old clock tower in the distance stood frozen at midnight. His shadow flickered at his feet, suddenly clinging to him again. "You're back," Ben whispered, relieved. Then a voice echoed through the alley. "Not all shadows find their way home." Ben spun around. An old man in a tattered coat stood nearby, watching him with kind but tired eyes. Shadows swirled around his feet, moving independently, just like Ben's had. "Who are you?" Ben asked. "I am the keeper of the forgotten," the man replied. "This is where lost things go. Memories, stories, even shadows that have lost their way." Ben's heart pounded. "Why did my shadow come here?" The keeper sighed. "Because something forgotten called to it." He gestured toward an old bookstore at the end of the alley. Its sign was faded, the letters barely visible. Finnegan's Tales. Ben's breath caught. His grandfather, Finnegan, had owned a bookstore just like that, before it had closed down years ago. He stepped inside. Dust floated in the air, and shelves lined with old books stretched into the darkness. On a wooden counter lay a single book, its cover worn but familiar. Ben and Grandpa's storybook. Trembling, he opened it. Inside were pages filled with stories his grandfather had once told him, tales of adventure, magic, and far-off lands. But some pages were blank, their stories missing. Ben's shadow flickered again, stretching toward the book. And suddenly, he understood. My grandfather's stories. I stopped remembering them. The keeper nodded. A forgotten story is like a lost shadow. It fades, waiting to be found. Ben traced the empty pages with his fingers. He closed his eyes and whispered the stories he could remember. The one about the brave knight, the one about the flying ship, the one about the wishing tree. As he spoke, ink swirled across the pages, filling the empty spaces. The bookstore brightened. The old clock tower's hands ticked forward, and his shadow stretched properly at his feet again. The keeper smiled. You've brought them back. Ben clutched the book. I won't forget again. The alley seemed to shimmer, and when Ben stepped outside, he was back in his own town. The forgotten streets were gone. The clock tower stood tall, its hands moving once more. He hurried home, the book pressed to his chest. That night, as he sat by his window, he read the stories aloud, letting them fill the room. His shadow stretched beside him, steady and true. Some things should never be forgotten. The end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Sprouts Cottage. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for more fun and learning.